Hello everybody, it's the Saintsman, the small van driver on the CX. This video is not a week in the life of. I've been asked about how I get jobs, how I quote on what I quote on jobs, what areas I go to. So what it's all about is strategy. Um, I've been doing it almost 3 years, this job now, getting up for 3 years, and I think I've got a bit of knowledge, strategy, and where I want to go. I did a video about shippers, what shippers I'd work for, what shippers I wouldn't work for. That's part of the strategy. But how do I get about getting jobs and making money, trying to make it pay? It's not. Everyone just keeps saying, "God, he's lucky he's picked that job up." Saintsman's lucky he's picked this job up. Yeah, maybe there is some luck to it, but I do a lot of research as well. I do a lot of looking at it. Forward planning is what I try and do. I'm in a very good area. I drive a small van. It's an L2. I can fit two blue pallets just about. I've only done that once, but they do go on just. But I can fit one pallet on easy, and I can fit doors up to 2 meters at angles across, which I've had on before. So I've got a decent little van, but all I quote on is jobs up to midi range. So this is my strategy for jobs up to midi range. Haven't a clue about anything over that because I don't quote on it. I don't even see the jobs. So I'm in Northampton. It's a brilliant area. So I'm lucky that way. I am very lucky that way. There is a lot of work around that 30-mile radius, what I call it, which is where you go looking for your jobs. And um, my top strategy now is I always try and book a job in for the next morning, the day before. Uh, I'm doing this. I'm going to put this video out on a Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm actually recording it. It's Sunday night. It's 20 to 10 at night. But I'm not going to let it. I'm not going to put it out because I've just put one out a week in the life. I've got to get it to come out Tuesday. But I've got a job booked in for tomorrow, which I picked up Friday. And what I was doing Friday, I went down to London. I went up to North Oswald Street, and then I went down to Central London. And I was always driving home from there because I just wanted to get home. Didn't want to be late. I'd got something on Friday night. I'd got to get home. I didn't even look for jobs to get me home or get me somewhere near. There wasn't any anyway, and getting out of London's a nightmare. But what I did Friday, I got my laptop with me. I've it set up. I've got my passenger seat, but I've got a tray across it, a wooden tray, and it's an office. Laptop shut. I get in. I pull over. Probably about up as 2 o'clock. Start looking for jobs about up as two. I pulled into the services and I put my location, or my home location as my home, and put what jobs are on there. Yeah, there's jobs on there Friday afternoon, which is not, there weren't many. But shippers start putting jobs on for Monday. And I'll start quoting if I want to get a job. And there was about 4 jobs on there Friday from Northampton, or there was Daventry, going various places. I don't quote on every job. I don't quote. I won't quote on a job that starts 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, because I'm hoping to get some earlier. That comes into my second part of it. I quote on jobs that are early starts, and I got one. I quoted on a job from Northampton, 2 drops down to Canvey Island and Grays, and I quoted accordingly. It's going down towards right near the bridge. It ends at the bridge. It's plumbing stuff, residential addresses. So I know it's going to be a quick offload. Not going to be at a distribution centre waiting and farting around. Not going to be at JCB. So I know I'm going to be cleared. Um, 11 o'clock, something like that. And I quoted quite high. I quoted about 85p a mile loaded, maybe slightly more. But that's what I was prepared to do it. And it was a 7:45 pickup. Now that is late-ish for me. Last week I did 5 starts between 5 and 6 o'clock, because I got a load in from the night before, which had to be in a fairly distant place away from me. So that was up on Friday. I've already got a job in. There may be better jobs on there, come up, but I've got the job in. It's done. And that's one of my first strategies. That's what I like to do. I'm in an area where hopefully there's work the next day. So I like early starts because I think with a small van to earn the money I want to earn, it's pointless starting at 10 o'clock in the morning. You're never going to get that. I try and aim for 200 plus VAT a day. If I can, 1,000 a week plus VAT. That's a target. It's realistic, yeah, realistic. It's you need to work. Don't get me wrong, but I think realistically, if I work hard for 5 days, I should get it if I get everything in place. And early starts is what started off. If I can get a start, like on Friday, I'd got a load on the back from Peterborough, took it home, went past my house, went home, started at 5:30. I tipped that load in Oswestry, 115, 120 quid, something like that. And it was tipped by Harper State. I have done 120 quid by Harper State. Yes, I had to get out of bed at 4:45, but I've done 120 quid by Harper State. And at Harper State, jobs start going on. But I'd already got a job Friday because, well, I knew I'd be tipping in Oswestry by 9. This is on Thursday. On Friday, I'd got the job on the back. Thursday, I got the job on the back to deliver Friday morning. I was looking for jobs in Oswestry and I got one. But I was looking for it Thursday at 3 o'clock. Once I got that load on, I knew I'd be in Oswestry Friday morning and I knew I'd be tipped 9 o'clock. I was looking for jobs on Thursday and got one. I got one for, yeah, Oswestry is a really poor area, but there was one on there, one job. And it was the next day going to London, Eastwood. I quoted on it, I quoted high, and I got it. But I looked at that job Thursday at 3 o'clock in the 2:30. I didn't wait till I got to Oswestry Friday and then say, oh, I better start looking for jobs. You're not going to make that money. You're going to have a lot of waiting time. So try and get your next job booked in. Don't overlap them. It can go wrong if anything happens to your first job. But if you leave enough gap, then you should be all right. And if you say to the shipper, I am tipping a pallet in Oswestry at 9 o'clock, you've got 9 till 10, same postcode area, I can be on your job probably for 9:30. Is that acceptable? There you can say yes or no. And this lady said, this bloke said, that's absolutely fine. If it's past 10 o'clock, please phone us and let us know. He said, if you got any, I said, if I've got any issues, I will let you know early as I can. And I didn't. So he was happy. So that's another one. Early starts, get a job booked in for the next day, the day before. That's a good area. How much do you charge for jobs? I've had this question. How much do you charge? How do you work out your strategy for bidding? It's in there. It's not written in stone. It is not written in stone. You just pick up an inkling. And the inkling I pick up, if I'm going, say Northampton. Let's always start, we're going to start in Northampton. If there's a job to Norfolk, Suffolk, and it's not picking up till 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning, you're going to be there 11, 12. You may struggle to get a job. So I quote high on them jobs going to them areas because they're not good for work. I quote high. I may quote up to £1 a mile, and if I don't get anything, I have to travel somewhere. It's not such a loss, money loss leader. I quote high going to London. I quote very high going to London because we all know it's a big black hole. It's a sinkhole where the water's you're going down the sinkhole. Everyone's trying to get out for peanuts, and I mean peanuts. Guys are quoting crazy money to get back out of London to get back up north. It's understandable. They'd rather go back, you know, and get paid 70 quid for a job that should be 140. They'd rather do that than go home and travel home empty. It ain't right. It ain't right because the shippers are getting the best of the deal by miles. But it has to happen because the guys have got good money. That's another thing. If you get really good money going down to London, you can maybe have a cheap load going back. I'm not saying it's right, but it covers you. So if you're getting, say, London, I get £1 a mile for long distance. If I'm only going to London, if I've got Northampton to London, central London's about 70 miles. I will quote best part of 100 quid, 95 quid, because it's not about the miles when you're going to central London, it's time. You can get off that M1 at the bottom there in 45, 50 minutes. You think I'm doing making great time. You go down Finchley Road, wallop, you're stuck, you're knackered. I drove down Friday and I did quite well. I trundled through and it took me about 35, 40 minutes from the junction 1 to East 1, East London, right in the centre near St Paul's. Then when I come out of London, because there's no work, it took me an hour and 20 minutes to get back to the motorway. So London is about time. It's not about sparseness, it's about how I like it. So you quote high. I quote high going to London. If I got a job, Northampton, let's say Manchester, I'll quote less. It's a good distance. Northampton, Manchester, what would that be? 100 120? 120 mile? I don't know. So say it's 120 mile. I may quote as little as 80p on that, 75p. Because I know Manchester is a really good area for work. Depends where it is. Manchester's, it says, oh, you go to Manchester. Well, where are you going? Bolton. That's not Manchester. That's way north of Manchester. Oh, where are you going to Manchester? Oh, I'm going to Stockport. That's south. There's a huge difference. You know, it's a big motorway, a bit like the M25. There's a big ring road. But it takes time. So you've got to be careful. If it says Manchester, look at the postcode. Have a look exactly where it is before you quote. Don't just, I mean, when I first went, did jobs right Northampton, Manchester, 120 miles. Yeah, I'll quote 75p. When I started, 75p, 75, 90 quid. Put 90 quid. I've got it. You get there, it's bloody way up north. It's Oldham or somewhere like that, or Bolton or Blackburn or Burnley. It's not even in Manchester. And you're like, oh, Jesus, it's not actually Manchester. So that's a strategy. Remote areas, when I'm traveling to remote areas, I quote higher. And I'll put in the notes, uh, put this quote in because it's going to a poor area where I may not get work out. Or another one is there's loaded miles and there's total miles. What I mean by that is I'm in Northampton. If there's a job from Corby going to, I don't know, say Leeds, say it's 90 miles, I've got to travel to Corby to get it 26 miles, 25 miles. So that makes that 115 miles. So say it's 115 miles all in. I will quote my mileage getting there and all in mileage, say at 75p all in every mile. Or the opposite you do, you swallow the 25 mile, you're quoting in the 90 miles, say it's 90 miles Corby Leeds, and you quote higher on the mileage, which will work out. Depends what you want to do. But that's it. That's another tip. You either quote what you just loaded miles, and if you're only 10 miles away, 5 miles away, quote loaded miles, or you quote all in. A lot of the time I quote all in. I quote in from where I'm sitting because it comes up on the app. Click on the map, it says you're 15 miles from it and it's 120 miles. I quote 135 miles, but I may quote slightly less pence per mile than I would if it's fully loaded, and it equals out. But I won't quote silly money just to get a job. That's the strategy for them. Short jobs around the Midlands, nothing less than £1 a mile. If I'm doing Leicester to Coventry, Coventry to Nuneaton, Rugby to Birmingham, again, Birmingham, huge place. West Midlands, Birmingham around by Solihull, you can go up to Tamworth, Lichfield. It's a big area and it's traffic. So I will quote higher. I will not, very rarely I'll go into central Birmingham unless I work for a couple of shippers where I know exactly it's the same job. I know exactly how to get there because you just traffic. You've got to get it right, and so I'll quote higher. Longer jobs, I do quote less. Strategy to me is if I'm going to get a longer job, I'll quote probably less, but I'm not going down silly money route because I'll tramp. If you're not prepared to tramp in a small van, I think you're going to struggle. I think you're going to struggle. I haven't tramped the last week, and I've been lucky, or I've worked to find jobs. The furthest I've been away, I went to Stonehouse, which is Gloucester. I went up to Oswestry, but I got a job to London. but I didn't do any massive distance. I didn't go up to Newcastle. I didn't do Scotland. I didn't do a Cornwall. I didn't go down to Kent. I stayed within a parameter which, yeah, was a little bit. I mean, Oswestry was the furthest, is about 120 miles away from home. But I knew I got a job to London, which was 70 miles from my house, going across. And I stayed. I got home every night, and I got home quite early some days. But I had to start early. But if you're prepared to tramp, which I am, most, most Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I don't mind tramping if I get the right money. Scotland, I have a strategy for Scotland. I may have said this in a previous video. My strategy for Scotland is I'll go to Scotland Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at the latest. I will not go to Scotland Thursday, and I'm not keen on going to Scotland like later Wednesday. In other words, get a couple of jobs to Birmingham. Say you get a job Northampton, Birmingham, and you're in Birmingham at 10. You get one to Coventry, say at 11. Then there's a job from Coventry to, I don't know, Dundee. And then I'm not keen on that because I'm not going to get there till late on a Wednesday, and I've got to get a job back. So what I do with Scotland, I will go up Monday, Tuesday, and first job Wednesday. To get there, say Wednesday after lunch, gives you half a chance of getting a job back. It also gives you a chance to get your laptop on and look for future jobs just to get back. Now, when I go to Scotland now, the minimum I'll quote now is probably 90 pence a mile. Very rarely I'll get that. But if I get 90p a mile, when I'm up in Scotland, I think Neil at Neptune's will tell you, getting out of Scotland, it can be 65 pence to get back to England. Because there's English drivers up there, a bit like London, they just want to get back. They'll do it for petrol money. That's where, if you do it for 90p going up, you can maybe do it for, say, 60 pence, which makes it 150 overall, which averages at 75 pence a mile. You get 75 pence a mile on a small van, you're going to make a living. You're not going to be rich. You're going to make a living. We all want more. Don't get me wrong. So, you're quoting too cheap. You're quoting what you get the job for. And another strategy of mine is do the job for what you're prepared to do it for. I quote on loads of jobs, knowing I'm not going to get them. But if I do get them, I've got them at my price. So that's my strategy there. There's jobs you think, I don't really want that job, but I'll put a bid in of this. I mean, I'll put a bid in on some. Well, it's £1.10 a mile for a job that's probably meant to be 80 pence. But I think I don't really want to go there. The reason I don't want to go there, I want to get home. But if I do it and I don't get nothing else, at least I can drive home and I've got a bit of petrol money. So that's the strategy. Be careful where if you're not prepared to tramp. If you're in an area that's not very good, again, I don't think you're going to make it with a small van because you're limited. If you're in, let's say you're in, I don't know, Norfolk, let's say you're in Norwich, you get a job. You've got to travel from Norwich. Say you got a job Norwich to Birmingham. It's fine, but you don't tramp. How the hell are you going to? The jobs back to Norwich are sparse. There's no area around it. There's no massive industry like Northampton. Within 30 miles of Northampton, I'll name them: Luton, Milton Keynes, Bedford, Rugby, Leicester, Coventry, Nuneaton, Hinckley. There's loads. Banbury, Oxford at a push is slightly more. Bicester. There's 10. There's 10 areas you're going to get. I'm going to get back. So I am going to get back 90% of the time. But sometimes I'll take a job up to Newcastle at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm not going to get back. But it gets me there, say 5 o'clock. Say I'm in Birmingham. I go to Newcastle. It's 4 hours. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Not many people, unless no one's up there down here. Birmingham drivers ain't going to do it, so I ain't doing that. I'm stuck up in Newcastle. Not prepared to tramp. I am. I'll go to Newcastle. I'll put good money on it, and you get a really good day. And on the way up, I'll start putting my laptop on for Newcastle for the next morning, and I'll try and get the job booked in. That's how you do it. That's how I do it. That's how I think I can do it. That's what I do. That's my strategy, pretty much. in a nutshell. So if I go to London, it's for big money because I'm very rarely going to get a job out of London. I'm not working in London. I do work. I'll do a quick job in London. Say it's round the South Circular or North Circular. If it's somewhere around there, and I'm in, I don't know, I'm in say Blue Water, or I'm in Gravesend, and it's a 25-mile job, but it's not going in a bit. I'll put 50 quid on it. I'll put 50 quid on a 25-mile job because it's going to take me 2 hours, but I'm only doing 25 miles, and that's my petrol money getting me back. So I will do jobs around there. But that's it. I've rambled on for 20 odd minutes, but hope it works for you. My top tip, if you're in a remote area and thinking of joining the CX with a small van, you've got a tramp. I think you've got a tramp to make it pay. Another question people ask me, can it work doing part time, 2 days a week? No, is a simple answer. Because your costs, your CX will be the same, your insurance will be the same. The only thing that won't be your petrol, but that's not massively expensive as it was. It's come down, although it's going back up. And if you're only doing 2 days, you still got to pay all them outgoings. You know, you're still going to have three lots of insurances. Uh, so I don't think it'll pay for 2 days. Um, I'm on the CX. I do predominantly my work is CX, but when I check, I do work that's through the CX, but they phone me. If you see they phone me and say, interested in doing this job, they look, see it, oh, I'm there, I'm on wherever I'm close enough. I'll send it through the CX and it goes through the CX, although it's not for bidding on. So that's because I've been doing it 3 years, I think. Hope it helps. Like I say, if you've got any questions, I'll try and answer them. But if you're in an area that's good, if you're in a small valley, you're prepared to tramp, it's fine. When I mean tramp, I mean go and park for night, try and find somewhere. If you're booking hotels all the time, it cuts in. In the winter, I don't tramp very much. I might do a hotel, an Airbnb if I can get them for 30 quid, especially if I've earned a lot of money. It's harder. In the summer, I'll always tramp in the van. I'll find somewhere nice, save myself 40 quid, 50 quid. Hotels are 50 quid now. So, hope that helps. Hope you're all earning money. Any questions, please ask. Subscribe, push like, whatever that thumbs up bell, whatever it is. It's all edited. I don't edit it. I just say it as I say it, this is what I do. So hope that helps, and we'll speak end of the week.